Welcome everyone to Thursday Roundtable. We're so happy that you could join us today. I'm very excited about our two guests we have today. Wonderful panel, really top-notch HR professionals, HR leaders in our space, and so I'm really excited about having both of them on the show today. And I'm going to get to my introductions here. But as you're just not signing in, let us know what city, what state, what country that you're signing in from, and let us know what questions you have. You may have questions or comments or feedback as we go along. Please definitely do that as we go throughout our discussion today. So first of all, I want to welcome right next to me is Mr. Omar Reed. He is the Senior Vice President of Human Resources at Harris Health System, located here in Houston, Texas. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Rollis. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to participating in the discussion today. So honored to be here, and let's get started. I'm ready to go. Mix it up today.
Sounds great. Love it. Love it. And then we have also Mr. Daniel Gandarilla. Hope I said that. Gandarilla.
You got it.
He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Talent Officer at Atrium Health, located in North Carolina. And I believe you got some locations in South Carolina too, right?
Yeah, and in Georgia, and it's just expanding quickly. Right?
Okay.
So
welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, you know what? A lot of us are looking forward to this. I sent a big communication out to our healthcare executive group. We have a little over 125,000 members there, and well over 50 of them were said, "Look, I'm looking forward to this thing." So we got quite a few that are very interested in this subject of how we prepare for tomorrow's challenges today, because we get so caught up into the grind of today, right? Putting one fire out after another, and we don't get a chance to plan as much as we would like to. So I wanted to really delve into your minds, and then those who are watching, if you have comments, if you've got ideas, feel free to share. We're all going to share our ideas and kind of have a little bit of a brain share here. What's top of mind for you? And I'm going to start with you, Omar. What's top of mind for you in terms of preparing for tomorrow's challenges today? And then we'll go to Daniel.
Well, Rollis, thanks for that question. And really, what is top of mind to me is the changing that's taking place in the workforce. As we look at the demographic change, the sea change that's taking place, we know that baby boomers are exiting out of the workforce at record numbers. And so with that record number of exit and the predominant demographic in the workforce becoming millennials, then that means we're going to have to change or refocus how we are doing some of the things inside of healthcare and some of the steps that we're taking. Just for instance, I recently looked at some of these numbers. There are probably about 26 million people that live in the state of Texas. That's where I'm at. Texas, second largest state in the union. But one of the things that we know that there are probably over 200 million people on Twitter. And so as you start to look at what's going on and how people are consuming information, receiving information, there's 2.85 billion people on Facebook, and another about 4.5 billion people use Google every day. And there's 77,000 Google searches per second. And so I'm starting to look at it and say, okay, with that being in mind and how people are receiving and consuming information, what does that mean to me in the workforce of the future and not just the workforce of the present? And so we're doing some things, we're starting to look at our social media. We're trying to look and see how do we recruit or have a better social media presence? How do we communicate with people differently? And certainly, what are some of the policies and processes that we need to have in place to attract the workplace, the workers of the future, being cognizant of, some of the things that we have always done in healthcare are not going to help us with the workers of the future. And I know you're going to talk about the Great Resignation later, so I'll just save some of that. But we're in a supply shortage right now for workers, and we got to do different, more creative things to bring workers back to us and to retain the ones that we have. And so I'll stop there.
Wow, that's great stuff. Yeah, we definitely want to dive into that some more. And then how about for you, Daniel? What's top of mind for you right now?
Well, Omar took some of the words right out of my mouth, I think, on part of the kind of future focus. Here and now, we're working through just how do we keep folks here, right? How do we retain them, get people through the door faster? That's sort of the current immediate state. And to your point, it's consuming a lot of time, right? And it's preventing us from necessarily getting to some of these longer range planning ideas. So we're doing our best. We started having conversations today about, well, what do at least we need to do in the short term, medium term, and longer term. And we do have a great chief experience officer here who is really focused on that redesigning of that experience from a teammate perspective. And he's a close partner. And so we're going to work through that. It's just probably not going to happen as fast as we were hoping, but we've got to figure out what are the most important things to advance, right? So top of mind is what is most critical for what we're seeing that if we don't get done will hinder everything else, and that prioritization becomes so critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. And those are just now chiming in. We're talking about how to prepare for today's challenges. I'm sorry, tomorrow's challenges today, because we get so caught up in the grind of today. How do we look at those things that are out in the future? And I want to get to you, Omar. How far are you typically looking out? Are you looking out a month ahead, 6 months ahead, a year, 2 years, 5 years? What's typically the time frames you like to keep, kind of really keep your plan going and keep looking towards the future?
So Rollins, I tell you, anybody that tells you that they're planning 5 years in advance is just kidding themselves. There's no way we can know what is going to happen 5 years in advance. I used, and I'm just going to look retrospectively for a second before I tell you about my future look, because at one point I actually thought I had figured out what was going to happen in the pandemic. I thought we were going to be finished with the pandemic by now. When the vaccines came out, I kind of made this calculation. We kind of made this bet that, people are going to get vaccinated. We're going to be through with the pandemic. And, we just are coming out of our last surge. So we're on the downside of the last surge that we came out of. So ideally, we could probably look forward for about a year. I don't think we could look any further than a year. We've got a 5-year strategic plan here at Harris Health System. We've got some foundational things that we want in place. But in actuality, what I can see is probably about a year from now, and where we hope to be going into the same time in 2022. Not much further in advance than that can I, predict. December 2022 is about the window that I can have right now. Can't look much further than December of 2022.
Makes sense. How about for you, Daniel? Is that similar for you?
Well, I want to be in Omar's shoes. I can't look past October 22nd right now. That's the way it feels. But yeah, I think you're right. Is what we're trying to get people a little bit more comfortable with right now is we understanding the big vision and then working at it in chunks, right? And I'll give you an example of what we've just done over the past. I guess it was in the past like 6 weeks. Is we went and to your point, Omar, we were like, all right, we'll be out of this by next year and we can circle back. But here we were in October of 2021. I was basically where I was in October of 2020 saying, we set a bunch of goals. It's time for performance reviews. Are we going to, and I've been trying to break the cycle anyways, right? On this annual cycle, and went back and said, hey, this is the new norm, right? We're going to be in this. So let's just think shorter. And we got our CEO council to buy in that we'll do a January check-in and then like a May, June check-in, right? So we'll do 2 next year and then be able to circle back. So we're capitalizing on it, but it's sort of, that's the, okay, we got the big picture. We need to get here. The opportunity has presented itself. Let's go, right? And that's sort of the mindset that we're in, just thinking of what can we tackle, right, in the next 3 to 6 months. And then that will then reflect itself in how we ask other leaders to do the same. So we're working through that right now, but that's what's top of mind. What's the next thing to present itself?
And I'll just jump in after that, because I think what we're seeing is that the velocity of decision making has speeded up exponentially. You used to have time to, sit around and, literally do strategic planning and those types of things. But I can tell you that, the decisions that have to be made right now are, what's going to keep us in business, or, being able to serve the patients that we serve in accounts course of Harris Health System for the next, 3 months. And those short-term decisions become very pivotal at, crucial times. I'll jump in, and I know we were going into the last surge, and, we were losing nurses to travel agencies by the hour. It was, we had a daily incident command call, and, it was a 10 o'clock call, and, it was like we just lost 3 people in the last hour, in the last 8 hours or something like that. And so it was that dynamic decision making that was taking place, or that dynamic challenges that were taking place, and we were trying to respond. And so as a leader, we have to be more focused on, making those types of decisions, and not saying, what's the 5-year vision. We can have a vision, but there are going to be some obstacles, some challenges along the way that we're going to have to adjust to. And so I'm trying to get my team to understand, the velocity of decision making is changed exponentially because of the pandemic.
Wow,
that's just to build on that, right? Where it's then going into is, and I mean, I'll give an example. I'm probably a bad example here, but every night I pick up my late shift at 8 o'clock. We're taking calls, right, to figure out what's happened since everyone took a break to go eat dinner, and like, here's the new current state. And based on that, what do we need to do? Because we got to get back together at 8 in the morning to go over the next. And so it's this to your point, the velocity and speed, and the amount of time that it's taking is really eating away from a lot of other activities. But we just have to figure out what's the next best step, right? I mean, that's it. What's the next best step, one at a time, knowing where we're trying to go.
Makes sense. So it sounds like to me, it's almost like forget the year, 2 year, 3 year thing, 5 years. It's more like 90 days. Is what I'm hearing.
Oh,
yeah. You're right. You're right. I liken it sometimes to if anybody ever plays sports out there. I played basketball, and when we used to put on the full court press rollers, that means we would press them from the time they took the ball out on the baseline all the way to the time they got across half court. And so it's sort of like a full court press that we're doing every single day. And unfortunately, it's having an effect on our people. And, they're tired. HR teams are tired. Clinical teams are tired, because of the speed of what we are being asked to make these decisions. And so I just want to know, kudos to those persons who are working out there. Make sure they continue to refresh themselves and try to, take some downtime, because it can be exhausting.
Absolutely. Okay. You guys have hit so many great points. I feel like we just need to take a little bit of a step back and do a little bit of a fun question. Okay. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so guys, in the comments, I want you to also answer this, whether you watch this live or on the replay, and we want to get your thoughts on everything we've talked about so far. What's your feedback on what Daniel and what Omar were saying? Okay, so here's my question. If snow could fall in any flavor, what flavor would you choose?
I'm going with strawberry.
Oh, strawberry. Okay. Why strawberry?
You said why?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite ice cream. So strawberry is just, if I could get strawberry snow from the sky, that would be my preference.
Awesome. How about you, Daniel?
I'd probably go with blue raspberry, because it would be like an icy, right? That's just coming down out of the sky, like one of those ices that has blue raspberry flavor coming down. That's what I would take for snow.
I like both those flavors, man. Especially when I go to get the snow cone. You get a snow cone stand, a strawberry or blue raspberry. Yes, sir. Or even a watermelon. I used to get watermelon too. Coming up. Okay, very good. Okay, so we get back. We're getting into some more serious stuff again. All right. So in terms of talent challenges, do you see the biggest challenge in the acquisition, in the engagement, or the retention? Which one is like getting your attention the most right now over the next 90 days?
For us, it's acquisition, right? We've put a lot of mechanisms in place to try to retain, whether it's comp, whether it's incentive pay, there's just various things we've done to try to pull those levers. We have a lot of we have a program with Code Lavender it's for well-being and burnout. We send, I mean, our chaplains are a part of it and others, and they're out with these carts, and they do so many wonderful things. I think we had like 55,000 events around the system, which could be
Wow.
a cart, it could be people calling, rounding, things like that. Just a lot of great stuff on retention, but it's really, we've got high functional vacancy rates, right? Posted positions, and we just are having difficulty filling them in nursing, and then particularly in our rural facilities, it's becoming a challenge, right? That's part of the time this morning was really focused on, well, let's look at the hot spots. What do we have that's coming down the pipeline? How do we expedite some of it? And then you look at we don't have nurses. So we've tried some tactics to get them back, but that is the crux, right? So we've actually asked our business partners to help. Okay, well, we need you to work with the leaders to come up with a plan. What's the plan if there's nobody coming, right? What do we really do? And so we're trying. We're not that we don't have people coming. It's just maybe not in the volume that we would hope for, right? The cavalry to come in waves of hundreds, and we're not going to get that. So we're trying our best, though. But that's where we're having them hunker down on what are the plans and what would they do, how would they operate differently, and other things to consider. So that's the short term, right, work that we're doing. I'll let Omar go. I can tell you some of the longer things we're doing.
Okay,
well.
we'll come back to that. Go ahead, Omar.
Well, Rollis, I like to watch CNN, so I'm going to give you some breaking news right now. I think every time there's a news story on CNN, it's breaking news. So I'm going to give you some breaking news. We certainly here at Harris Health System on October 29th, we'll be paying out our first retention bonus to employees here who have been here since October 1st. And so, that's something that we had not traditionally done. And so we certainly are trying to hold on to the talent that we have as an organization, and that payment, employees keep emailing us, when is it coming? When is it coming? So now they know October 29th. But I think we also are seeing the same thing Daniel was talking about in terms of talent acquisition and trying to acquire new talent into the organization. I live in Houston, Texas, and we have a very competitive landscape here with the Texas Medical Center, and as I call them, the big brothers of Methodist and Memorial and MD Anderson, who have way more resources than we have here at Harris Health System to be able to attract that talent. So, there's there's a supply shortage, and so we're trying our best to bring in those into our organization that can help us with the patient care that we need help with.
Love it. And I'm already seeing some good response from the audience about this retention bonus here. So in fact, a lot of them are very excited about it. So I'm glad to hear that you have that. That's awesome. That's great.
Well, our employees are excited. We're excited to offer it, Rollis. But in the competitive landscape that we are in right now, you got to try to hold on to the talent that you have. You can't, it's leaking out. Our turnover rate, our nursing turnover rate, are below what I see in other places. But certainly we got to try everything we can to hold on to the talent that we have, because acquiring new talent is much more expensive.
Well, one of the things I enjoy too, and I've been on site with both your main hospitals recently, and you got a great group of folks there. And I love being able to ask them questions and hear them just express themselves as to why they stay there, what's making them stay, and what makes them happy, about working there every day. And I think I agree with you 100%. If you're bringing them in, but they're going out the back door as quick as you can bring them in the front door, it's like you not feel like you're getting anywhere. And sometimes the recruiters can get tired. They can get like feel like, man, it's like I never can get anywhere on this thing because they're leaving as fast as they're coming in. So what are some things that maybe, what are some ideas or things you put into place retention was like amazing. That's like awesome retention. Any other things that we've done recently that you can think of that you think will be helpful or have been helpful in terms of either engaging or retaining the folks you have?
So we followed the same, right, on the comp philosophy. We did our gratitude pay. We did, big increases for nursing and others. We're also removing things. So the big announcement came out today that we weren't having a performance review, right? That we didn't need it. We had enough information on them. They were taking things off people's plates, right? Is equally as important. We've extended plenty of deadlines for people to try to give them that time. And I've already received communication that, all right, these things are good. So that's just trying to make some breathing room, right, to allow for people to be focused. But we do things in our clinical setting like Schwartz rounds and other things just to help people decompress, right? From that. So I think there's that. On the engagement side, part of what we did, we knew we weren't, we've moved to more frequent everything. And so we now have an anniversary survey. An anniversary survey goes out on someone's anniversary, right? And so that's our, you get a note from our chief people officer saying, this is the time to reflect. Please complete these 25 questions. So we now have running total across the enterprise. We have a always changing dynamic of where's everyone at, and we have a running score for this. So we're able to modify that, and then we ask leaders to act. Right when they see something, don't wait. Okay. So we've been doing a lot more listening and encouraging people to take a look at their scores more frequently, and as they look. Here's some tips you can take. If this is low, do that. If this is low, so we just put it in their hands. We don't need a big planning cycle on those. It's much more, what can I control? Let me go do it. So that's been something that we've just encouraged, and visibility, all that stuff. So that's probably the other tactic we put into place at the end of we put it into place into last year. Started in about April of this year, and we have well over 13,000 responses in the Charlotte area alone. So
I love that. So Omar's adding something, which is awesome, the retention bonus. And of course, you said you do the gratitude thing, Daniel, but then you're also looking at removing things. That is a great idea too. And I'm seeing great feedback on that as well. Excellent. One of the things I do want to actually follow up on too, Daniel, and I'm going to give you a second to answer the question, is the scorecards, because I get a chance to talk with a lot of different organizations. That's something I haven't heard much of recently, is the scorecards for each manager being able to look at their own numbers. But before you answer that, I'm gonna look at the comments, because there's quite a few that come in since we've looked at these. So of course, Joanne, she says hello. Mohammed says hello, everyone, and we also have Stephanie Saunders is here with us. We also have Leah Lucchese. She says, hi, everyone from sunny California. I hope you're all well. Acquisition is our biggest hurdle currently as well, and I'm in the AEC industry. I'm sorry. What is the AEC industry? Everybody know what that is? If you can, let us know what that is, Leah. Sorry, I'm trying to think of healthcare terms. I was like, I don't think that rings a bell in healthcare, but I'm glad you're here. Leon Fress, he says, has anyone tried doing leader lunches and having high-level leaders meet with some of the frontline staff to get instant feedback? What are your thoughts on that?
So, Rollis, we do leadership rounding every 2 weeks. Okay. And so our executive team is out meeting with the frontline staff every 2 weeks. And that is probably about 30 or 40 of us that are out there every 2 weeks having conversations with the frontline staff and, getting their feedback. We have a tool called Syntax that we are able to put that information in. It's collected and housed in one combined database. That database is then fed out to the owners for some action. So not only do we go out and receive feedback, we have certain timelines by which we have to respond to what is going on in those areas if the question is directed to your particular area of responsibility. And our CEO has a bi-weekly town hall by which all employees are able to ask him questions and live and chat with him. He is a overview of what's going on, and then they have the opportunity to ask him any question that they want, and that information is also fed back to the respective owners. So yes, we're touching those frontline staff as much as we can, and we've even seen we know our staff appreciate it because the response that we get when we're out there doing that.
That's awesome. Okay, Dan, you have any feedback on that too?
Yeah, I mean that's same, right? We try to get our leaders out there to round. I think visibility is one of the most important things. There's actually really good HBR articles that will tell you about the benefits to both the individual giving the feedback, like the teammate, and then the leader in terms of their own satisfaction by actually listening and then taking action on it. So without a doubt, that's key. Again, we'll send our leaders out, whether it's part of the Code Lavender effort or just we've got our leaders naturally that are rounding wherever it may be and trying to be as visible as possible because we know that makes a big difference.
That's awesome. And by the way, I now know what the AEC means. It's architecture, engineering, and construction. So thank you very much, Leah. Glad you're here. And actually, Leah is a great name for me because the president of our company is named Leah. I don't know if Leah's watching right now, but we got 2 Leahs right now on the show, which is great.
Wallace, I just want to jump back in though, because I want to talk about one other thing that we're doing here, and a very unique thing that we're doing in the month of November. It's called our Relaxathon. And so when we have our Relaxathon, we go out and, we allow our employees, we bring in masseuses. And so they come in, they give massages to our employees. You get 15 minutes. And, obviously we can't get everybody, but certainly it's something that we do as a part of our wellness team. They also have an opportunity to decorate Christmas decorations to be given away to patients inside of our hospital, and also write cards to be given away to patients inside of our hospital. So it's something that, we do that's a little bit unique, and that's coming up next month in November.
Wow. That's really cool. Okay. Okay. So I want to follow up on an earlier question, or something you kind of brought up, Daniel, and it got me going here. I've got my talent acquisition hat on here, and we're talking about how sometimes you have them coming in to the front and out the back. What's a scorecard? Give me an example. What's on that scorecard? So if I'm a manager, I know how I'm doing. What is that?
Well, so we went through a bit of a transition to a new ERP in the middle of all this, right? We got 3 things going on. We have the pandemic. We have a new ERP that includes HCM and all these things, and we're integrating at the same time. So we used to have really good scorecards, and now we're trying to put them back together in the new system. But what our leaders are typically used to looking at in Charlotte is we didn't have an exit component to it, but they would look at their patient data, quality data, the teammate engagement data, and their financial, they had that they were looking at, and there was this operational excellence committee, right? And so they would be really focused on all this. Leaders would know, they would know to take action on it. I think right now what we see is people know how many people are leaving, and we're trying to get them more information on who is coming. But that's why we intentionally sold in this removing the performance review. The communication that went out today was make sure to go check your teammate survey data, because you need to go take a look to see what that could potentially be. So right now they've got 2 places to really look. They can look in and see who's coming in the system, or they can look at the other location for their engagement data. We're trying to build back those dashboards that would have all of that before, that just don't exist now through all these combinations, but we're working back towards that. So that's what I hope that we get them, who's coming in, who's going out, engagement score, and some other things that are a part of it in the future.
Love it. That's great. Okay. So it's time for our halfway through water break. So I don't know if you have your water with you, but take a swig.
Rollis, you should have told us that earlier. I didn't
forget to tell you about that. I apologize. I forgot. I usually remember at the beginning, and I forgot. I got a little nervous. I forgot. Okay. I have a follow-up question for you. This is another fun question. Okay. If the daytime high temperature had to be exactly the same every day of the year, what would you want the temperature to be? And those are the comments. I want you to answer the same question, please. It's very important.
Well, I grew up in San Diego, so I'm going to say probably 76 degrees would be good by me. I'll take 76 all day long with a little bit of sun. It can be overcast in the morning, burn off by noon, be 76 the rest of the day. I'm good with that.
Ooh, that sounds
And
good.
I picked 78. I was thinking 78 the whole time. So I'm 78, but absolutely 78 for sure.
Nice. I like it. You know what, you go. I was thinking a little bit lower in the 70s, but I think you guys both have me converted over. I think I'm going to be like right in there. I think maybe 78. I'm starting to feel a little bit warm, but 76, yeah. I like both those temperatures. I'm gonna go with 76. Okay, in the comments, oh, we already have someone. Mohammed says 26. I'm assuming that's Celsius. I don't know what that it would be Fahrenheit wise. Maybe somebody can help me in the Mohammed. Let me know what that is in Fahrenheit so I can like totally be with you on your temperature. Okay, getting back into the conversation. Talent acquisition wise, we talked about, I know last year we were doing a lot of sign-on bonuses and all kind of things like that, and so now it's kind of moved a little bit differently. Now we see more of things heading more towards a career progression, and what are you going to do while I'm there, and will you pay for my education and stuff like that, help me with my student debt. Talk to me about some of the things you're doing to kind of bring folks in, that's you see things that are starting to work.
So yeah, Rollis, you mentioned it. We one of the programs that we just approved here at Harris Health System was the our student loan debt repayment program for our nurses. And so and we initially, when we set up the program, had a 6-month waiting period. We've now gone to day one, and we've also included our GNs in that. So our new nurses have the opportunity to participate in that program from day one. And so that was something that we really, and oh, by the way, we even expanded it to say, if you're a nurse and you have a child who has incurred some student loan debt, we'll even pay for that. So we've really expanded that program to try to increase the capture of those who can participate in it. And so that was something that we felt was pretty unique that we were able to offer here at Harris Health System. And that just went live. I believe it went live last month. So I'm looking forward to see how it works and the results that it has on the workforce.
That's awesome. Wow, I love that. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that I know a lot. For a lot of years, a lot of programs involve tuition reimbursement, but paying back actual old loans, because here we are looking for experienced people who already have the degree, and they're not in school right now because they already have the degree. It would make sense to have something to pay for their education. I think that's awesome. I love that idea. I think it's going to work extremely well. Daniel, what are you guys doing on your end?
Yeah, so we've got a really robust career and workforce development team that's working hard, right? And so part of what we're trying to do is lock up our own. We have college as a part of this. How do we lock up our own students early, right? That are part of our health system, so we can say, hey, day one, right? This is part of our conversation recently. Could we offer them day one? You welcome to school, right? As a part of Cabarrus College within Atrium. You're going to work here, and so we're gonna lock you up, and then we just know as long as you graduate. So that's one thing we've talked about, but we try to sick our recruiters on these individuals right away, right? So we can get them if you're doing your rotation. So that's been, I think, helpful in yielding people that do their time with us that want to stay. We have some other things that are unique in our tuition reimbursement package, right, or tuition assistance package that we offer, including we actually will offer CE, which I think is a little bit unique, and not everyone includes that under tuition, which is helpful for a lot of our nurses and other individuals that require some sort of ongoing certification. We also pay for their tests, right, to go get certified. And also we have some unique things that we can package in there that are small but helpful. But we just had this conversation about loan forgiveness, right, and tuition forgiveness. Are there things that we should be thinking through differently, and particularly in our rural facilities, to get people out there? And I think that Omar just made me say, okay, well, we got to go get this thing approved and done. They do it there, we got to get it done over here for those. So but I think that's been truly helpful. People typically, we're in Charlotte, we're the market, right? As our positions go, so goes kind of the market. It's a little bit different in our Macon market down in Georgia, and in Winston-Salem with Wake Forest Baptist. It's still predominantly us, but there's just more competition up there with Cone and Novant and others. So each has its own unique flavor for how we're going to attract those folks there.
Makes sense. Rising tide lifts all boats right now. I love it.
There it is.
Okay, so Muhammad says 26 Celsius is 78 Fahrenheit. So he's right with you, Omar.
Yes. Yes. I love it, Muhammad. Keep it up, sir.
Yeah, great deal. Okay, I have another question for you. Oh, now Leah has a question. Have you found success in recruiting outside of your area and relocating in anyone? If so, is the retention better?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I mean, if people move from someplace to here to work for us, we have seen that they tend to stay, are more committed because of the relocation that they made to come here. So you would expect to see a higher level of retention in persons who have relocated, just because of the commitment that they made to leave wherever they might have been and come to the new location. So yes, we do see that in the persons who relocate.
Yeah, and I think we probably see the same. The other thing, what we know is we've been asking as people leave informally, okay, why are you going? The top two things that come up are burnout and traveling, right? Especially in nursing, right? They're going to go. Those are the top two reasons. So while we do think if we can get people here, I think right now there's just it might not be the same as you would normally expect, because I'm moving, but I got a great opportunity. Let me go take that, and then I can come back. Right there's just a different competition level we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, I've heard that all over what you just said. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go take this assignment, make 2 or 3 times more money, and then I'll come back in a year because I know you're gonna take me back because you're still gonna need nurses. That's kind of what they're thinking. And some of the places I talked to are like, well, we're just not gonna have you back, or we're gonna make you lose your vacation. Like, yeah, right. They're like, no,
Yeah.
they're gonna invite them back.
It's
not realistic. It's too much of a shortage.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask you this: in terms of hiring managers, though, because I've come across hiring managers. I've talked to them all over the country. There's sometimes a hesitancy to bring in someone who doesn't live there, because they feel like, well, they might not stay, or they might just get to the very end and they might not accept the offer. I'd rather just get somebody local. So what do you, cause I would imagine there's probably some hurdles you have to go through with some of the hiring managers. That's just a guess, just based on my experience.
Daniel, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So we, I think that I have not heard that as much. We haven't had that experience. I think because we have, as we've posted, we're used to having to probably pull from people who are coming from a little bit further away. So I don't think that's been as big of a deal. I think they've been good. It's been better to interview virtually for a lot of people. Right now, the problem that we do run into is we're still being a little bit more selective than we probably can afford to be. Right. As well. I don't know if
yes.
Right. So it's so I'm still looking for the ideal person that's going to fit, as opposed to saying, well, I need this, and and you can do it. You may not be perfect, but the pain of not having you is more than the pain of having you. So that's where I think we're still in the still want to get peer interviews and some things. We still want them to have multiple interviews with these different people. So we're trying to break through some of that, right, to get people as quick as possible. But that's one of the real barriers that we're finding right now. So
yeah, go ahead, Wallace. I'll just jump in very quickly.
Please.
And one of the things that we're trying to do is streamline our hiring here, and what that means is that there may be less involvement from those direct hiring managers in getting a team of people who do the interviewing and then do the assigning out of the persons we're getting into the organization, because we recognize that speed in this type of market is very important. And if you leave somebody out there, for 2 weeks trying to set up interviews with hiring managers, Well, guess what? They're very selective, and they have an opportunity to leave and go someplace else. So we're really looking at revamping our model of 16 hiring managers got to interview somebody before we can make an offer to them. Can we cut that time down, because we absolutely understand that, as I said, velocity of decisions makes a huge difference in the talent pool that's out there right now, because they
Yes,
can have their pick
sir.
of jobs of where they want to go. And, if you're not accommodating, then, choice B is just as good as choice A in the market that we're in right now.
Amen. I tell you what, I felt joy when you were saying that, because that's my love language right there when talking about recruiting is speed. Yes, we want to definitely get things right, but let's make those decisions faster. And you also hit on something else that I want to talk about as group interviews versus individual interviews. To me, my experience has been someone maybe they have a bad hire or hires, they feel bad about it, and they want to get other people involved so they can make better decisions. But how about just making better decisions and keep doing them by yourself, so we can get some people hired? I don't know. What are your thoughts? I don't want to take your answers. How do you feel individual versus peer? Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I personally, would prefer to have somebody that works for me interview that person, and they like them and they meet, and we're good, right? I mean, you just basically want to say, so in this case, yeah, if you get a peer nurse to interview another nurse and they're good, do it, done, right? Don't worry about it, right? Let's make the offer and go. Again, we're all competing, right? For the same group of people. If we don't make an offer today, Omar and people are making an offer for that, and they're going to Houston. And I mean, it's that's the deal, right? And so so we know that, but I'm not sure everyone still recognizes it 100%, that I got to make this. And let's make the candidate tell us, well, I want to wait for these. Okay, well then I'm going to move to my next candidate because I don't have time to wait. I mean, we just have to. We can't be so. I'm just going to wait and hopefully that, and then we've lost all these other candidates. The velocity of the decision. I like the way you say that, Omar. That's it. We got to make the decision and move.
Wallace, it goes back to what I said earlier. There are, and this is an amazing number. 77,000 Google searches per second. I mean, the time that you have, people are collecting information almost instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And the time, 24 hours, 48 hours, in what we're finding, or what we had found historically, that, it'd be a week or two before this candidate would be able to get in to meet with all the people that they needed to meet with for a decision to be made. And that's just no longer acceptable where we find ourselves at right now. We can't continue to function like that when everything else has, sped up exponentially, and you're still, using this, horse and buggy model, and everybody else is driving around in a Ferrari. So, or at least, something that, I saw yesterday, and you probably saw this too, the Star Trek guy was up in space, so these things are changing every day. So,
I did
Captain Kirk, he's sitting in on a movie set, and yesterday's in space. So things are changing. You got to go fast. You can't wait.
And let me I just want to say, part of this, I have this feeling, no one articulates it though, but everyone just wants there to be a really easy decision that you have to make. We've been making so many fast, tough decisions that I think people are just like, I want a real easy, routine decision like I used to have, right? And anything that's fast, now people are just like, I don't know, I just don't want to deal with it. Where before, at the beginning, it was, we can do it. And now we're just like, I just want a routine, Mon. Just give me something routine, right? Yeah. And I think that's the way people are starting to feel in healthcare.
I think so. I think I agree. I agree with that a lot. Let me ask you this: in terms of changing the narrative, or helping to move that needle where the hiring managers do understand that more. Because I've seen. Okay, I'll give you one example. I talked to an IC nurse. I had her on the show. She says in the past, I don't know how many years, she's never had to wait more than 24 hours for an offer.
Wow.
She gets an offer basically every job she entered. I said, how many interviews do you get offers on? I said, let's say out of 10 interviews. She says 10. I get an offer on every single job. So how do we start to move the needle with the hiring? Because I think the recruiters do understand it for the most part. They understand there's a level of urgency we need to have. There's competition there. Do we feel like the hiring managers are already there, or they're getting there? How do we feel? Do we feel like we have some work to do to help them as well? What are you thinking, Omar, and then maybe Daniel?
No, absolutely. I mean, we have work to do. I mean, they feel the pressure in terms of being short staffed. And so, they're feeling that pressure because they don't have the persons in place to do the jobs that they need to do. They don't understand necessarily the backside and the swiftness that we need to make these decisions and get these offers out. And so we do have work to do there. And so human resources, we have to do a better job of helping them understand what you just said. This person got 10 interviews, they got 10 offers. So we can wait, but guess what? That person's going to be off the board when it comes time to, have a person to fill in. So we had better make it much quicker, much more expediently than what we had traditionally done.
That's a great point. What do you think, Daniel?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of, right. So we have leaders that need to understand they're only looking at it from their perspective. Right? I mean, it's like, well, I can go at my pace. I can do it. I've got this pool. They don't really understand that part, right? What the perspective of that individual is that I need a job. I'm this, maybe I like you better. You're taking your time. I'm good enough of it. They just don't. We have a lack of understanding, I think, of other people's experience in that process, right? And the ability to empathize potentially with what they're going through and what they might need. And that's where we need a lot of support. We need people to just think outside the box. A lot of healthcare is built around me and what I need, not necessarily the like the treatment or the whatever, not the person. And I think that it's the same thing. It then works around our process. We build it around what we need and not the other person.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Carlos, I'll just give you a quick example. I remember in the old days, there used to be something they called courting. Courting, when you were dating somebody, you would court them. And then all of a sudden they went to something called speed dating. We are in speed dating on steroids right now. So, when we're trying to find someone to come in and be a part of our organization, it's speed dating on steroids. So you really don't have the time to court, and like you used to in the old days. So we need to make sure our hiring managers understand that.
Yes, absolutely. No, those are great points. Okay, we're almost to the end here. I cannot believe how quickly this hour has passed. I have to ask you this. We talked about traveling earlier. I know you said traveling nurses, but this reminded me of this question here. What is one trip you've never taken but would really like to take someday?
Oh man, I want to go to Machu Picchu. That's my goal, is to go to Machu Picchu. I haven't done it. I want to do it. So I want to get up there. So
awesome. Well, yeah. So what's yours, Omar?
South Africa. And then I'm planning to do it next year. So Johannesburg is in my future next year. Johannesburg, South Africa.
Ooh, those are great. Y'all believe in those long flights too. Boy. I tell you what, those are some long. Those are some long flights, but I well worth it, I'm sure. Those sounds like great places. Guys, in the comments, where would you like to go? What's going to be your next big trip on the other side of this thing we're in right now? Let us know, even if you're watching the replay. Okay, so let's finish this out with your final thoughts. I'd love to get what if you were in front of another, whether they're in healthcare or like we have someone from the architecture industry, whatever it is, if they're a HR leader, what advice would you give them right now to help them prepare for tomorrow's challenges today? So Daniel, you want to go, and then Omar, you want to finish this out?
Yeah. So there's just there's something that done at a different organization. It's called like a future back strategy, right? So you just imagine what's the future you want, and you walk it all the way back, and you can figure out what's your first step, right? That's basically. So you say, what do we want? We want to get here. What's our first step? Because there's just so much, right? So I would tell anybody, there's just so much going on. We're inundated. We're being pulled in multiple directions. So we just have to figure out what's the next best step, as opposed to what's exactly right, and have our plan all the way built out and give ourselves some grace in the process.
Love that. That's great. And then Omar, by the way, Omar, I just got this this question came in. What's your experience on hiring people vertically, especially after COVID-19? So if you want to incorporate that in your answer, feel free, or just give your best advice.
So I'll give my best advice, and I'll start with the saying that's on the wall behind me, and not sure everybody can see it, but it says, the most dangerous phrase in our language is we've always done it that way. And so as you are going forward as HR leaders, I think it's important to remember that the old paradigm, the old rules, the old model that was in place may not be applicable as you go forward. So be prepared to be flexible, be prepared to be agile, and break some stuff along the way, but make sure that you are serving your organization to the best of your ability, and understanding that the playing field is different right now. You're playing in a much more competitive space, and that the talent pool has diminished. And so if you're going to get that talent that you need to sustain your organization, you're going to have to be making decisions at a much higher velocity to accommodate what needs to come from the candidates that are out there.
Absolutely wise words. Do we want to tackle this before we get only about about less than a minute left? Any experience on hiring people vertical? Or do we want to answer it afterwards, maybe in the comments?
I really don't know what it means, so I want to make sure I understood what it means.
I think I want to say he's thinking about hiring people to be managers coming straight in.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think you could do that if that's what the question is. Yeah, I'm always I'm a talent scout. My job is to look for talent, whether it is in healthcare, whether it's in transportation, technology. I'm always looking to bring in top talent.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, I think also what he's saying too is that, like, let's say you're looking for a director of a certain department, but they've only been a manager. So basically, you've kind of hired them in. That's what I got from it. I might be wrong. You can feel free and correct us, Muhammad, but hiring people vertically that way.
We're not seeing a shortage of people that want to join in leadership, right? I think that there's people that are now there's opportunities, and there's people that have been doing some amazing things, right, in this and they have some stories to tell about what they've done. The leadership part is not where we're running into the challenges, right? It's at the frontline level. We've got people coming. I think in the new world, the tough part for being a leader with a remote team, with a virtual team who's spread out, something that's not typical in healthcare, right? So our corporate functions, who might not, our HR team is not full remote now. Our IAS team, a lot of them are full remote, and so we don't necessarily get together in the same way. That's probably the challenge for a new leader, right?
Yeah. Well, that helps a lot. Listen, guys, you were amazing. Thanks for giving us your time. I cannot believe how quickly the time has passed by. Thanks for everyone in the comments for giving all your great comments. And those who are watching the replay, we want you to get involved too with your comments and your feedback as well. Thank you for being on the show, Omar. Appreciate you being on today.
Thank you, Rollins, for having me. It was a pleasure. Time flew. You were right. It's the fastest hour that I've been a part of. So thank you.
Awesome. And Daniel, thank you for being on today as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And give our regards to everybody in Atrium Health as well as Harris Health. And I do have your websites right here just below me if you guys want to check them out, especially if you're looking for a great place to work. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll say bye to everyone. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being on today. Okay, 1 second here, and then Joanne will let us know when it's good to cut it off. You guys are amazing today. It's a great conversation.
It's good.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. Very, very nice to meet you, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we're good, right, Joanne?
Yep.
Yes, Rollins.
Thank you very much.